Hello everyone and welcome. Today I have for you another handmade card idea for Father's Day. This is actually the card that I made to give for Father's Day. The stamp set that I'm using here is this one from Avery Elle. I'm using just a shark and I'm also using a stencil to create waves. The cardstock I'm using is the Canson Bristol and I also have a separate white card base. For the stencil background I'm using Distress inks and for the coloring of the shark I'm using the Zig brush markers again. I will be using other products which I will mention along the way, and you can find the product list over on my blog. I started with creating the background with waves. You can get a stencil for waves, but I don't have one, I only have a stencil for clouds. And here is an example with a background with the clouds, but if you flip it, you will get a background with waves. And that's what I'm going to do here. I have two Distress ink colors here, but in the end I only used one, the Blueprint Sketch. I applied the inks from top to bottom, where the top here is actually the bottom. I will flip it after I'm done. I secured the cardstock as well as the stencil with a washi tape and I started applying the ink. I was inspired by Michelle Short from the channel and blog Card Grotto. She made few backgrounds where she blended the ink from dark going into white, so I thought I will create something similar, sort of an ombre effect. I started with the darkest application of the ink. I had to apply multiple layers and then I moved to the middle part. I put the stencil a little bit higher. I also used a different pattern so the waves are not the same, and I applied the ink. And again, after I was happy with the application and with the shade of the color, I moved the stencil and applied the lightest shade of the ink. Altogether, I applied 3 layers of the waves, not sure how to call it. And lastly, at the top, so it blends and it's not so harsh with the white, I applied a little bit of ink above the last wave. Next, I removed the washi. Right now you see the clouds, but let's flip it. And here we get the waves. I put the background on a side and then I worked on the shark. I stamped it onto a Bristol cardstock and then I colored it. I didn't do anything special. Again, I'm using here the Zig brush markers and water brush pen. I used the same blue-gray as I did for the background with the card with the guinea pig that I made a few weeks ago. I wanted to use watercolor pencils, but they were too light and I didn't have the right colors, so I thought that the Zig brush markers were a much better option. Except of the blue-gray, I used yellows for the crown and black for the mouth. Here I just applied the marker without using water. After I was finished with the coloring, I cut the shark using my scissors, but to cut the bottom of the shark, I used a guillotine to get a straight and even cut. Next, I worked on the greeting. I created a banner where I heat embossed the greeting using a white embossing powder. Actually, I was planning to stamp it directly onto the panel with the waves, but I thought that the last wave was a little bit too high. So instead of stamping directly, I needed to see how it will look first, just in case I needed to place it over the top of the waves. So if you are making this yourself, don't forget to make space for the greeting. To assemble the card, I cut out the banner very close to the letters so it's not too bulky, and I adhered a double-sided foam tape on the back of the banner and the shark. And the background with the waves, I die cut using a stitched rectangle die. I attached the shark at the bottom and the greeting at the top, and I did place it above the waves, so technically I could have stamped it directly onto the panel, but I think the extra black just gives more additional color to it. Next, I adhere the panel on top of the card base. I used a simple double-sided tape, not a foam tape, so it's not too bulky when I will be sanding it. Now we come to the last step. Here I adhered a few clear drops onto the background to represent bubbles in the water. I adhere them using a liquid glue. I put 3 of them on the right side and 2 on the left side. And this finishes the card. Here you can see it in a close-up. It's very simple to create. I actually made 3 of the cards because this is the amount I need for Father's Day. Especially for the men in my family, I tend to send the same design of the card because first, I'm picky when it comes to the stamps and I don't have that many. And second, it's just easier to remember what I sent so I don't send duplicates. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would appreciate if you gave this video a thumbs up. And if you have any questions, just ask in the comments. So that is all for today. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you soon.